Today on Expert Showcase, we go behind the episode with strategic parking lot planner Marco Menna.
And welcome to Expert Showcase. Hey, we've got bouncy bars. We've got two great guys up there. I won't spend much time talking. As you can see, my name's Chris. There we go. That's Marc, Marco. I'll get these pointing right. We have our great interviewer over there, Marc. We have our great guest, Marco, above us. Guys, take it away.
All right, so Marco, we just shot a great episode that people are going to want to stay tuned for at the end here. We're going to show it, but first we like to go behind the episode first. So here's what we're going to do, Marco. You and I are going to have a little chat about your background, about your business, and also about the episode that we just created. Chris is going to take some notes on screen that our audience can watch as he's kind of thinking through and processing what we're talking about. Then we're going to flip it over to Chris, and he's going to kind of play the role of coach consultant for us and give us some feedback about what he's hearing, about how video can play a role, and that's about the size of it. Sound good to you, Marco?
Sounds good.
All right, so Marco, tell us a little bit about how you became talk about a niche. I mean, we love niching. We're always talking about people need to focus. Strategic parking lot planner. This is a very specific kind of consulting you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of taken off from starting a driveway seal coating business while I was in college, and then working for the residential, going into the commercial side of the business of the asphalt world. So it really has elevated, but there is a high demand for it, and it's definitely a niche, to say the least.
Yeah, I may need your services pretty soon for my own driveway. I've been neglecting it for a while. It's starting to show, so that's probably not a good idea, is it?
Not a good idea at all. Nope.
Probably making it a lot more expensive for myself. So tell me a little bit. So how. So you started, pretty early developing this business, but you really made it into a consulting kind of process as well. It's not just, and that's part of why we wanted you on the show, because I think a lot of business owners, a lot of coaches, consultants could learn. How did you start to create a system, a strategic flow to how you work with your clients and customers?
Well, you set up a process. So, you set up scenarios, and did a great job with my partner, Kevin, where basically it's the whole entire sales process, coming from the phone call to the follow-up, to the proposal part of it, to the in-meeting process, to basically what should we be saying, what are the questions we're going to be asking, so we're not wasting anyone's time and we're not winging anything. It's one of those things where we found that if you set yourself up like a game plan, if you were a coach of a sports team, that's the best way to move forward, especially in the business world. Because everyone's, time is of the essence for everyone out there. So when people sense that feeling that you know what you're doing, and that you have that process, you have those steps, and it's a lot better, we found, when you're dealing with a property manager, a business owner, or a homeowner.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we on the marketing side talk a lot about this idea of getting visibility and credibility and authority, but you're actually highlighting something really important about that credibility sense and that being an authority, knowing what I'm talking about, and having a real structure. It comes across, right? You're giving people a sense of confidence that, hey, this is not some fly-by-night organization. These guys take this business seriously. They are in command. They're in command of their subject matter, right? And they know what they're doing because there is this structured step-by-step process. It seems to me that's a great way to boost confidence in the person you're talking to.
Absolutely, and it's great confidence on our end because now we're going into it having that confidence and having basically knowing what the next step is to having a successful job being done. I mean, and again, you can have all the game plans and all the processes in place, and you're going to get thrown curveballs, and you're going to have to deal with things that aren't always going to go exactly as planned. But you definitely want to have a plan and try and execute it rather than just going in and saying I'm just going to wing this. It's not a good situation if you do that.
Yeah. Well, what's the old line? You can either plan to succeed, but if you don't have a plan to succeed, then you're planning to fail. Something like that. I'm botching the line there, but what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, How do you go about targeting your ideal customer client? Now, obviously, you know, you could say anybody who's got blacktop, right? But I mean, what's your process for trying to really get your message targeted to the right people at the right time? How do you guys do that?
So there's a few ways that we can do it. You have your traditional style of marketing. It's called hot calling, where basically you're going around parking lots and you see parking lots that have problems, and you'll drop off either a free assessment. You'll try and get a phone call to the number that's listed on the property somewhere. You try and get through to the secretary, to the property manager. You can go that way, which is effective. It takes a lot of time, and it's very difficult to do, but it does work. Then you have basically you can cold call. You can give just phone calls or just go through lists of property management companies and just say, hey, listen, sometimes get lucky with that. I've found recently directing my marketing on LinkedIn and basically creating a LinkedIn profile that is very informative and legit, and basically have everything on there, putting out posts and connecting with property managers on LinkedIn has been great, and I'm actually looking forward for this season to really heavily delve into that. I didn't do it as much in 2014, but in the early months here, it's been very effective getting the brand out there and getting my personal brand out there as well.
So that's an interesting point. So you're using social media, you're using LinkedIn, and it sounds like you're creating content for property managers. That makes total sense. And so what kind of things do you create to then put in front of them to demonstrate that you guys are credible, that you know your stuff, that you are sort of the parking lot authority?
Well, I mean, actually, I just put out a post the other day. It's what does striping and baking a cake have in common? And it was, it's one of those things where you're trying to connect with everything. So with everyone. So baking a cake, you have a great cake, and then you throw down icing on it on the top of the cake. So you have a nice parking lot, and then you throw down the striping on it. Now, if you have a nice cake and you throw down terrible icing, it's going to ruin the whole entire cake. And if you have a parking lot and you put down a terrible striping job that's not meeting up the code, it's going to be a huge problem. So I made a nice little connection there with that. I already got real nice feedback from it. And then at the end, for a call to action, it's like, hey, listen, mention icing on the cake, and we'll make sure to bring you a cake for our first meeting. So, that was something that me and Kev, the business partner, came up with. So it's stuff like that. I think that's going to it's going to be nice for us. And then as far as sending the email and sending putting out updates about different posts. I mean, we also put out an informational piece about the process and price of seal coating and things to consider. So it's those types of things, and you have people that are basically now they're searching LinkedIn and kind of looking for informational stuff, and then kind of come off as these guys, this guy definitely is putting out good stuff on it. Either reach out to them or kind of keep that in the back of my mind, so that when I do have something coming up, I will reach out to Marco. And I've already had that response on LinkedIn, and it's been great. So I definitely recommend it to all business owners to really delve into it.
And I know you haven't actually talked about it at any point so far, but I know that you've done some really interesting stuff with video. I mean, but are you doing anything at this point for the asphalt business with video? Yeah.
So I did a short little highlight reel of the work we did last year that we put out there, and this year I'm going to be doing the same thing. It's basically using YouTube Capture, the app on the iPhone, to get out there and just take clips of what we're doing, and then putting it out there. Nothing crazy with graphics or anything like that, but just to kind of like showing our potential clients what we're doing and just giving them the update has been huge. And then whenever I meet with people and I just pull out my phone and show them a 2-minute video of the work we've done, it's huge. Automatically off the get-go, they're believe in you a lot more when they see that you're doing the work, and they see a video that they can connect. Then you can talk through the video as well when you're making that presentation.
Cool. Well, before I flip it over to Chris here to give us some feedback and some thoughts, I just had a wacky thought. I mean, obviously the hot calling is a lot of work because you have to be out in the field and go find it, but it makes perfect sense, right? Because you've identified a problem. I'm almost wondering whether Google Earth is updated often enough that you guys could actually combine and actually zoom in on properties that have, because you can find the parking lots.
You can.
I don't know how often that gets updated and whether you can actually combine, never leave your desk and do hot calling right from there, right?
I mean, sometimes the thing with the hot calling is you walk into an office and that property manager might be sitting right there and they'll sit down and talk to you. So that's the benefit of that. And then right away you make that personal connection. So, there's so many ways you can do it. And we're going to, on our end, we're going to be doing it. We're going to be throwing everything in the kitchen sink at it, for sales-wise, trying to get the name out there and to draw up business, especially since we're a seasonal business and we only can.
You got to get one of those cool aerial drone cameras, and you can just kind of zoom over parking lots and just kind of do something really kind of cool, and then pipe the video right in there.
Yeah, one of our partners, he does have a drone that he's using. Okay. And it's definitely out there. We went to the National Pavement Expo the last 3 years and down in Nashville this year, which was back in January, and that was one of the big things. Was people were buying drones. They're flying over parking lots.
It's just fun, I mean, you got to find good ways to use them. All right, Marco, I'm gonna turn this over to our coach consultant here, Mr. Chris M. Sprague, making it happen. So, Chris, what do you got for us? What are you hearing? How can we, turn this into useful information for the coaches and consultants who are listening in, as well as for Marco here?
Sure. Well, first, let me stop tweeting and doing all the junk in the background. At least you think I'm doing it.
I thought you were taking notes.
Oh, okay. Give me the benefit of the doubt. So, first of all, Marco, great episode. It's kind of interesting because I think when people see the promos and everything, they're gonna initially start off thinking, why do I want to listen about for a lot of people go, why do I want to listen about parking lots and asphalt and everything? And what we hope to be able to do when we promote the episode is get people to realize that what you're talking about actually goes much deeper than that, because if you listen to the way we talk, what you have is applicable to coaches and consultants and everybody out there, because you figured out a great way to do business. It's kind of interesting because you're down from, I think you had said we were talking a little bit before, I think you said you went to Westchester, right?
No, I went to Temple. My business partner, Kevin, went to Westchester. Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake. This is where my hearing isn't always as good as my big ears would let people believe. But the reason I bring up Westchester is because down in Westchester, and your partner might even know the guy. Charlie McDermott lives down in Westchester.
Oh yeah. Oh, we know Charlie. Yeah.
But you know Charlie.
Yeah, Ben Philly and everything he does, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And the big reason I bring that up is because Dan Kennedy always talks about the fact that, you think your business is so different that you can't use things to market your business that everybody else does. And he says, you're just kind of fooling yourself. It's like if you think your business is that different and you're living proof of it. I mean, I know some other guys, one guy, John Toy, runs a fast signs place out in New York, and he does the same thing. It's like you would never picture a fast signs using. So anyway, but back to your episode, you would never picture a parking lot guy doing what you're doing, but that's the reason you're making your business a success, is because you're following great principles and you've set up a great system. So congratulations on that. One thing I wanted to ask you to do, and we got into it a little bit, is when we were prepping for the show, I asked you how you got to be a parking lot consultant, and you gave this great story, and it shows an incredible background. Can you give us that 30-second, the same one you kind of ran through where this all started and the kind of couple detours? Go ahead.
I was a big-time baseball fan. My father, since first memories watching my father play, and then went into Temple. Got into coaching baseball while I was at a sports management program at Temple, and then kind of realized that if I wanted to stay in coaching with baseball and the game of baseball, the only way to really make a living doing that is being a teacher, or doing the long route of being a coach, which I wasn't really looking into at the time. So starting a business was the other option, and my best friend at the time, still is my best friend, is Kevin Garvey, who was someone I was hanging out with and working with and doing stuff ever since high school. Was very interested in starting a business, so we just decided, hey, let's start a driveway seal coating business in the neighborhood. And while we were juniors at college, ended up doing a good amount of business the first year, and said, hey, let's keep this going. So our senior year came, and I kept with baseball. I was coaching at the University of Pennsylvania, doing an internship there. With the intentions of keep the business going and starting all out seal coat, and then took off from there, and it's been great because I've been able to stay involved with baseball, and I'm still a volunteer over at Penn, so it's been great. I've been able to do both.
Excellent. That is an awesome story, and I love how you had a love of you had a love of baseball. You had a love of one thing, and you knew you wanted to do something. You knew what it would take to get there, and you knew you needed another way to kind of finance it. And then by the time you got into that way of financing it, so to speak, meaning get a job, start a business, and everything, you realized that the business was successful and it was something you could be passionate about. But then you also brought along your coaching, your coaching background, your love of coaching, and have kind of melded the two into setting yourself apart from other people who just do driveways or just do parking lots and just kind of show up with the bulldozers, rip it up, slap it down, be done with it. And I think that's awesome. One completely tangential, off-topic question. I just want to make sure, you mentioned you loved watching your dad play baseball. Was your dad like a semi-pro or a pro baseball player? Or
he was. He played at Temple and then went to Italy and played professional in Italy.
Oh wow!
And then he played semi-pro back here in the States. And that was how I got first memories are being in the dugout and hearing the metal cleats on the cement type of deal, and being in the dugout with the guys. So I've always had a love for the game, and still love the game to this day. So it's been something that I will always take with me.
Awesome. Mark, when we do like an off-topic sports thing, we got to have Marco back on to talk about it, because I got to control myself at this point, because it's
at some point, Chris, you got to see some of the baseball related videos that Marco is involved in. I mean, they're just beautiful work. I mean, beautiful video work.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at Penn. When I was at Temple, I had to complete an internship, full-time internship while I was there, and I didn't want to, like most people were just doing it to Flyers, the Sixers, or at these huge corporations, and I was kind of thinking, what can I do at a program in the area that could kind of be like a marketing role, but also be a coach at the same time. And I reached out to the University of Pennsylvania, and the coach at the time, John Cole, was very interested in it, and he ended up having me on as a full-time intern, and I was as assistant to during practices and games, but then during the front office hours times, I was able to dedicate my time to marketing on social media, and just networking and walking around campus and meeting different people. I was able to run into an alumni who was extremely talented, short film director, Jeremy Moss, and he absolutely incredible talent. And I was, he made a few other short clips, and I was like, listen, we got to do something for this program. I think it would be great. And we launched a few videos that were very great, and that's a whole another story. But if you ever want me to come back and talk about that.
Marco's love of baseball is so obvious in the beauty of these shots and stuff, and so credit to the whole team that did it. But I mean, I think part of it is your passion really got injected in there somewhere. So.
Well, whenever you want to do something that hasn't been done before, you got to have your steps set up, and you got to basically have that vision, write your vision down, and then be able to have the rebuttals ready to go to fight for it. And especially when you're a Temple guy going into the University of Pennsylvania Ivy League, and you're trying to tell people you want to do all kinds of great things, oh yeah, that's great, and then but then you got to be kind of crazy enough to pull it off. And I was lucky enough to do so, and still involved with the program today, and. We still have that internship program that I founded still going, and we still have interns from my school that are still working with the team. So it's been really cool.
That's awesome. And so a couple of things I want to point out to make sure our viewers got it, because you've told some great stories, and storytelling is always the best way to get points across. I want to kind of summarize a couple things, because I really loved everything you said, but there were some key points I want to pull out. First and foremost, the system makes both the client and the employee feel more comfortable. And the funny part is that a lot of people don't worry about systems. A lot of people think their businesses are different. Even their coaching businesses are different, and they don't worry about systems, whether it's front end or back end. Like a lot of podcasters, they have a very loose way of getting guests on. They have a very loose way of going through the show. As you found through ours, we've got the application form, then we've got follow-up, we've got some pre-work, we've got constant emails coming across to let you kind of know where everything is at. You'll find out later we've got a follow-up process on the back end, and we found the same thing, that for our guests and for other podcasters who come on our show, it makes them feel more comfortable because they're not worried about what's coming around the corner. And I think that's great that you pointed out, especially like with parking lot, when you're talking about, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or maybe even depending on the size, like if you go,
Mall of America is waiting for you, Marco.
I was going to say, millions of dollars. So it's when you're spending that much money, you don't want to be hit by a curveball, right? I mean, you want to know what to expect, and you want to know that the person you're working with is always going to communicate with you.
Chris, I like how you worked that baseball metaphor in there.
Well, I was also gonna say, if you were the one that got the contract to bulldoze the vet and pave that parking lot, I was. Right. But then I realized that absolutely nobody younger than the people on this will even remember what the vet is. Just go, you look for a plaque, and it's all good. But the rats are probably still anyway. Enough Philly lore at this point. But real quick, before I go on to the next point, do you also find that customers say to you, "Thank you very much. At least I knew it wasn't going to get things that were unexpected, and it just, I feel good about the process"?
Yeah, it's that feeling after you go back and meet with the business owner, property manager after the job's completed. You shake that person's hand, they look at you, and they're happy with what you've done. I mean, that to me is one of the ultimate best feelings you could possibly have as a business owner, and as somebody who's you're going to look at somebody, tell them what they're expecting to have done, and then exceed their expectation. To me, that's what it's all about. So the only way that's going to happen is if you have that game plan, you have those steps, and you do everything you possibly can, and you express to them and you show to them that, hey, listen, I'm doing everything on my end, and if you're doing everything on your end that we can do, then that's the best opportunity we have. And when we've done that, we haven't had any issues, even though there have been things we can't control. As long as you have that seamless communication going on, it's been very successful for us.
Exactly. So, even if you're not in the parking lot business, if you're a coach or consultant watching this, I want you to really hear everything Marco said, and that kind of a little bit wrap up of that specific point. And by the way, Mark, Mark. Sorry, we got the Mark and Marco show, and Mark gets called Marco back home and all that stuff. So we're going to call it the Marco Polo show. But it's, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. So that was what you were.
I couldn't get my tongue got in the way, man.
So to wrap that kind of key point up, whether you're a coach or consultant, regardless of what business you're in, if you're watching this, have a plan, communicate with your clients, and you're going to have the same level of success that Marco is having. The other things that I really loved was about how you create content and what you're doing for content, that you're creating content to display your authority. You're combining both, I'll say, humor or kind of lighthearted interaction with facts to attract a client. Like you were talking about, what does icing a cake and striping a parking lot have to do with each other? Or what do these things have in common? That's a great way to attract your ideal client. And for those of you coaches and consultants watching this, I want you to listen to that. This is, and I say this not to demean it, but I'm saying this is a parking lot consultant, meaning don't tell me your business is different than everybody else's. If somebody who's in a business that is completely, nobody would think of being a consulting and coaching business other than a forward thinker like Marco, if they can do it, you as a coach or consultant who that's your business to coach and consult, you can do it too with content. And I love the fact that you do a highlight reel. To put it in our terms, what we would say to coaches and consultants is, look, you can all create highlight reels. If you record everything you do, if you're a speaker and you record every event, you too can put together a very seamless highlight reel. They call it a media reel, or they call it, a brag reel, so to speak.
A sizzle reel.
A sizzle reel in the business. So Marco, great job. Before we forget, and I want to say this on air, you're talking about LinkedIn, and if you don't already have a great LinkedIn consultant, we've got a client of ours, Hannah Ty with Chatterbox Social Media. If you don't already have a LinkedIn consultant, Marco, we got to hook you up with her, because even though you're doing great things, it sounds like you want to take it to the next level. And Mark, I think we should, if Marco doesn't already have one, I think we should hook these two up to at least have them talk.
Oh,
Because, go ahead.
nothing wrong. Yeah, absolutely. I believe Facebook had its day. It's still going strong. Twitter took off a few years ago and it's still around. But now I feel that LinkedIn is kind of having this third wave here, and I feel that there's a lot of baby boomers and these 40 to 60 age group professionals are really jumping on there. And then you also have a lot of recruiters that are just on there looking. And I can't tell you how many fellow friends of mine in my age from Temple and from the colleges that have gotten jobs just basically putting up a legitimate profile on LinkedIn, having a good picture and throwing things out there, and then getting scooped up. Because you go on Google, you type in anyone's name, that LinkedIn profile is coming right up.
Absolutely.
That's your opportunity to set yourself apart. And I pass that along to anyone who's a millennial like myself, to just get out there and make sure that you're working on that every single day. And that's what I'm trying to do over on my end.
Awesome. So before I turn this back over to Mark and you guys for some final thoughts, without further ado and all that stuff, watch our other episodes. You'll get that inside joke. I know you talked about creating highlight reels, and I know you create content and everything. Have you given any thought to creating content, I'll say in a format similar to this, where you're on the other end of it, other than of course Expert Showcase, because you're on the show, so you've obviously thought about it a little bit to be on the show, but on a consistent basis, have you thought about ways of creating content, video content like this, to help make your other content creation easier?
Absolutely, and I think it's a great idea. And that's when I met Marc at a meetup in Havertown at a Starbucks. It was one of those things where it was right on point, and I knew it was definitely very valuable. It's just it's difficult to do. You guys have a great system, and basically keep it flowing, and it's pretty difficult for on our end, guys that aren't doing this and have the system like you guys. But it's one of those things. I definitely see the benefit and the value in it. I know for me, as of right now, just having that highlight reel and having something short and simple when I meet somebody, to show them what we've done, or you send them over an email with the highlight reel, or have that highlight reel on basically LinkedIn as just like an intro is great. But then as far as having that content video, there's someone who's really trying to do some research and look into you as a company and having these type of videos. Completely see the value in that.
Awesome. Well, for now, Mark, I'm going to throw it back up to you for yours and Marco's final thoughts, and then we'll get the rest of the party started.
We'll get the rest of the party started. All right, so we got to wrap this up at some point. Otherwise, we're going to spend an entire day having a fascinating conversation, but never get to actually show Marco's episode, which is important here. So I'm just going to do a real quick wrap up to say, Marc, I never told you this story before, but I understand a little bit about your business because I spent several summers actually doing striping in parking lots. I wasn't involved in the business end of it, but I inhaled a lot of paint fumes and a lot of thermoplastic sticking to my fingers when we were doing those big stop lines that are at the intersections on roadways too. So it's good stuff. So Marco, it's been great having you on the show. We're going to have Chris give a few final words to our coach consultant folks who are watching. But any final thoughts that you have for us before we depart?
Just check out our new website, alloutparkinglots.com. Also look at my LinkedIn. I'm always going to be updating that, and then also keep in mind that for other businesses to reach out to your competitors and to set up alliances. We have basically a great alliance set up with fixasphalt.com, so that when a huge job comes in, we work with them to basically to keep the costs down, to get the job done in optimal time. So whenever you do have those large jobs that come in, have your Rolodex ready to go, and have your alliances set up so you can make that happen even if it's too big. So that's what we found to be very successful, and we're really looking forward to this season and being able to team up with other companies, especially fixasphalt.com, to get jobs done that are going to be large, and then be able to take care of the small jobs too. So that's the one thing I definitely want to end on for you guys today.
Excellent. Thank you, Marco. Chris, take it away, wrap us up, and then let's get to Marco's episode.
Sounds like a plan. So first of all, whether you're in the business and looking for parking lot work and striping and making your parking lot look beautiful, or if you're a coach or consultant and want to know a little bit more about systematizing your business, you definitely want to stick around and watch Marco's episode, and you'll see how, regardless of how different your business feels, that the principles of marketing and the principles of creating a successful business can apply and do apply to you as well. If you're a coach or consultant and realize after watching this and after watching Marco's episode that you need to be a guest on Expert Showcase to get that piece of content that'll start to springboard your content creation, and realize just how powerful being on Expert Showcase can be for you, then head over to expertshowcase.com, click on the apply button, send us your information, we'll look over it, and if we feel you're a good guest, we'll have you on as our next featured guest on the Expert Showcase. And finally, if you're a coach or consultant and know that video and the power of video and the power of creating content can make you can increase your visibility, can build your credibility, it can make you the authority in your field, then head over to VideoContent.Agency, check out the services page, see our visibility, credibility, and authority package, pick the one that's right for you, and get in touch with us. Let's see if we're a good fit for each other, and we'll go from there. And until next time, Mark, I'm going to roll the tape.
Roll the tape without further ado.
Yes, without further ado.
Today on Expert Showcase, strategic parking lot planner Marco Menna is going to talk to us about maximizing parking lot life expectancy, accessibility, and beauty. Marco Menna, welcome to Expert Showcase. We're glad to have you as today's expert. Give us a quick rundown of what we're going to cover in today's episode.
Today we're going to be talking about parking lots, all the way from seal coating to striping the parking lot to any repaving that needs to be done to concrete work to basically from start to finish. When you look at a parking lot, what should you be looking for, and basically then talking about a 10-year life plan that we can all look at, because it is a very expensive asset for business owners or property managers that they have to overlook, and if something that is not taken care of could have huge problems.
It's going to cost, right?
Absolutely.
Well, when we were prepping for the show, we promised people we're going to cover 3 important takeaways here. So we're going to talk a little bit about an in-person asphalt assessment. We're going to talk a little bit about the communication process, and then we're going to talk a little bit about follow-up. So these are important not only for, obviously your business, but for other coaches and consultants that we talk to as well. So this is going to be good stuff. So let's kind of take those in order, Marco. So when you are starting the process with somebody, what does that look like, and what's this assessment phase about?
The process starts with a phone call. And we get phone calls all the time. So in that phone call, when you give us a call, we're going to be qualifying you to make sure that we're the right fit and we can help you with any problems that you might have. So at that point, once we figure out that we're a great fit, we'll set up a 15 to 20 minute in-person meeting. At that point, we're going to look at your issues and talk about exactly what needs to be done and what your expectations are, and just basically building the rapport that is necessary in moving forward with any type of job that needs to get completed. And then moving from there, we give you an estimate and a proposal, and then follow up with you, and then follow up with us, and then hopefully at that point you find out that we're the right fit, and we go in there and we execute the plan with seamless communication, which we can talk about more later with the seamless communication approach.
Excellent, and that's really one of the reasons I was looking forward to having you on the show, Marco, is that you have really got a tight system that you guys have put together, and that you really take people step by step through a process. And I think a lot of business owners could really learn a lot from how you guys have pulled that together. And so part of that is all about seamless communication. So let's go there next. What does that look like? What do you try to do? How do you keep the customer in the loop and all that good stuff?
So it's one of those things, communication, I mean, it's such an overused word, but one of those things, it's, you hear constant communication, will always be communicating, and I've actually found that actually sometimes is a negative effect. People, property managers or business owners are extremely busy. They don't want to be constantly communicated with. They want to know when the job's getting done, that it's getting done on time, on budget, and basically have just enough amount of communication being done so everything is being done as supposed to. So that's why we have seamless communication, where it's basically how we act is we have a liaison type of role with people doing the work out on the field. So I would be your point of contact at all times. So you have my personal cell number, and I will be the one that can always be reached 24/7 if there's any issues. Also, on our end, we have basically when we reach out to you, we have our points to be talked about, and we're not trying to waste anyone's time. We're just trying to get through this job the best possible. And if you want to talk to us about the weather or sports or what we're up to, that's great, but that's not what we're going to be pushing on our end. It's more of let's get this job done. Let's make sure we're not disrupting business or getting any of your potential clients upset, or any tenants that might be living in your homeowners association or apartment complex that we're moving, or or a busy business parking lot that we're going to be doing work to.
So if I'm your customer, obviously I have the ability to reach out to you anytime I want to communicate. You're promising not to bug me with irrelevant information, so it's seamless communication, but it's highly relevant, focused, job-specific updates, that kind of thing, so that I know exactly where the job stands at all times, and that it's, as you said, on time, on budget, that kind of information.
And as you know, as a psychologist and a PhD, everyone's different. So it's some people, they don't even want to talk to you really. Just want to know what's getting done. And on the flip side, you have someone who's trying to be real close and be friends with you, and that's great. So it's you see all different realms, especially dealing with all different people that we deal with.
Right, and so part of that seamless communication on your end is sizing up what's this person's communication style, what do they want. I'm sure you're looking at how do they like to communicate. Are they an email person, a text person, a phone person, and you're adapting to give them exactly what they want, right?
Absolutely. Some texting right now, I always throw out, again, the phone call is so essential, and talking is huge. Emails and sometimes just texting that's where the miscommunication can happen most of the time. Right. That's what I found. So I usually send a text, send the email, and set up a phone call, bang, bang, right in a row, and then usually that's how you can get people.
Yeah, keeps it clear. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your follow-up process, because obviously, you're trying to, make this all move from start to finish and even beyond finish, I'm assuming. So talk to us a little bit about how you guys have kind of created a follow-up system for people.
Yeah, so whenever you're done talking with a potential customer or client, you just make sure, hey, listen, you give them ample time to look at whatever's presented to them, and then make sure you set up a follow-up time. It's like, hey, listen, take a look at our estimate on Thursday, make sure to reach out to you on Monday for a phone call, and, hold them to it, because, there's so many things that are going on in everyone's day, it could get lost. So it's kind of like you drop something off, and then there's no basically time that's set up, or there's no follow-up, or just kind of like, oh yeah, if you reach out to us, can't do that, you'll get lost, you'll be forgotten. So it works.
Man, I've learned that the hard way, Marco. It's like, you think you're being sort of friendly and just not being pushy and say, hey, we'll touch base next week. Well, I've learned that that's the worst thing for me and for the client or customer. It's like, no, let's actually make an appointment. Everything I do now, I try to do by appointment for my own sanity, because then we're just playing phone tag or email tag or text tag, right? So it's not good communication at that point.
I'll tell you right now, the email and then the text, bang, bang, right after one another, that's what I found to be the most effective way to get somebody on the phone. And this is in 2015. So.
Yeah, so we've got all this great technology. We got to put it to work for us. So, Marco, this is good stuff. I mean, obviously, it's good for anyone who's listening who's got a parking lot or a driveway that needs some work. It's also good stuff for anyone who's got a business and is in the coaching consulting kind of field and needs to really systematize their communication process. So, either way, Marco, I think you're sharing great stuff for them. I'm going to tell people how they can get in touch with you in just a second here, but let me just kind of review then. So we've been talking with Marco Menna, who is a strategic parking lot planner, and it's all about how to maximize the life expectancy, the beauty, and the accessibility of these surfaces, of these parking lots and things. That is what it's all about. So we've been talking about the process, really, the communication process that starts with a phone call to Marco and his team. that follows up with a personal asphalt assessment. It then flows directly into a communication process that kind of matches the way you like to communicate. It's multimodal, multi-platform to make sure that you're not missing the information and you're staying on top of the job. And then it's proper follow-up, to make sure that each step of the process is carefully communicated and laid out. Did I get that about right, Marco?
Right on.
All right, cool. So, Marco, to get in touch with you, we're going to put your phone number up on screen and give people the ability to call you, because that's your preferred way, right? Is for them to call you, start that process, get one of the strategic parking lot planners on the job, and be walked through the 7-step process that you guys have laid out to make sure that the job is done with top satisfaction, in a timely manner, on budget, and all that. So. Any other further thoughts, Marco, before we wrap up?
Well, I mean, one of those things I want to just throw out there, when you're looking, thinking about doing any work done on your asphalt, weather is predicated. Everything is going off the weather. So,
sure.
When selecting a contractor, if you're not in this area, you go with somebody else. Just make sure they have that communication down. It's huge. I mean, you got to have up-to-minute weather updates of when you're going to be putting down any asphalt or putting down any sealer, or if you're striping the lot and putting down any latex or acetone paint for the striping of the lines. It's absolutely essential that that your contractor is constantly looking at weather updates, and because it falls down on him. So it's one of those things that can get completely very, very ugly if you're doing it at the wrong time, and end up costing everyone a lot of time and money.
Excellent. So if you've got a parking lot, you got a driveway, you got blacktop asphalt that needs care, then you want to reach out to Marco Menna. I forgot to actually say your website. I know we've got it up there. So it's alloutparkinglots.com is the place to reach out and connect with Marco directly. So Marco, it's been great having you on Expert Showcase. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing this great information with people.
No problem. Thank you.
And another great Expert Showcase episode. Chris, what should people do right now?
Yeah, if you're watching this and you're a coach or consultant, imagine what it would do for you and your business if you were a guest on Experts Showcase. And here's the best part. Other than possibly increasing your business, an appearance on Expert Showcase is free. We give you a copy of your episode so you can use as marketing collateral, and we give you a coaching session to go along with it to tell you how you can best market your episode and other tips and tricks about your business. So what you want to do is head on over to expertshowcase.com, click on the big yellow apply button, and apply to be our next featured guest on the Expert Showcase. Now, if you're a coach or consultant and you've already imagined what having your own internet talk show will do for you, then we want you to head to VideoContent.Agency and check us out, check our packages out, and get in contact with us. Let's see if we're a good fit, and let's see if we're the ones to produce you and make you the next star and have your own internet talk show. And until next time, Mark, anything else?
I couldn't have said it any better, so just do what he said.